You had a story that you wanted to share with our viewers and listeners. You had talked about overcoming adversity. Tell us about that.
So I went through this is kind of a lengthy story, and there's a lot of detail that I'll probably skim over as I tell this because it's a lot to explain. But more or less, I went through some really challenging times in my life in 2020 through like 2021 in particular. Obviously 2020 was a very challenging time for everybody because that was the era of COVID and the world shutting down and just like completely having to find new ways of how to do things, whether it was work or like just connect with friends and family, get our groceries, all of those kinds of things. And for anybody that was affected personally by COVID during that time, obviously it was a really challenging time from a medical health perspective as well. But for me, there were also some other layers to it because my father actually passed away right before COVID began.
So
Um,
sorry.
thank you. It was just, weeks before the whole world shut down when my dad passed away, and maybe like the week following, once we finished kind of doing all of like the funeral and sort of like festivities. And in Judaism, I was raised Jewish. In Judaism, we don't have a wake, but we do something that is called a shiva, where people kind of come over to your home and you have food and you chat and remember the person. And it's just like an opportunity to just connect with friends and family and have people in your home and kind of just have that familial support. So as soon as we had finished doing Shiva at our home, it was like the following week, basically, the entire world shut down. A lot with just having my father had been ill. We had been through a lot in the caretaker roles that we had been in leading up to my father's passing. And then immediately afterwards, we are hit with COVID. So definitely a really challenging time in my life. In the meantime, a couple weeks prior to my dad's passing, I actually experienced one of the best days of my life, which was when my nephew was born. And he is the absolute love of my life. To this day, we are very, very close. He, I believe, really taught me a lot about the meaning of, truly unconditionally loving someone. And he brought so much light and joy and positivity into my life in a time where there was a lot of darkness. And so I'm so, so grateful for him. He's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But unfortunately, just weeks after he was born and after my dad had passed and COVID began, unfortunately, my sister-in-law, his mother, also unexpectedly passed.
I'm so
So
sorry.
I'd gone through two major familial losses during this time, and also then dealing with COVID, and also trying to be a support for my nephew and my other family members who were experiencing this loss at this time, especially because my nephew was a little newborn baby. My brother, his father, is such an incredible, attentive father, but I wanted to do whatever I could as he really hands on during that time. So, like I said, there was a lot of loss and a lot of darkness during that time in my life, but I'm so grateful for the bond that my nephew and I had. I get emotional thinking about it, but he really brought me the joy that I needed to make it through that time in order to stay afloat. And so, fast forward to 2021, back in 2019, prior to all of this happening, my mom had also been diagnosed with ovarian cancer, which she was fighter through, and she actually went into remission for quite some time. Um, and we had a lot of fun times together. During COVID, she was actually a really fun support for me because when I was working from home, she and I would spend a lot of our days together, and we would spend a lot of time with my nephew, and we would watch TV together. We had like our shows that we would watch, our soap operas and our Today Show and things that we watched together during the day. And I'm so grateful that we got to spend those times together. But fast forward to 2021, her cancer returned. And again, I was very much in a caregiver role and just dealing with a lot of grief and dealing with a lot of responsibility. And so in the fall of 2021, um, I felt that, I realized from a mental health standpoint, I was really struggling, and I felt like I kind of lost myself. Like I was just exhausted. I was emotionally exhausted. And I kind of made a conscious decision at a certain point in time that I wanted to start to make some changes in my life in order to spend a little bit more time investing in myself and kind of doing something for myself because like I just been through a lot up to that point, and I was like, I feel like I need to change it up a little bit, and I need to do something for myself that will bring me maybe a little bit of like new excitement in my life. And so at that point in time, I had been thinking about doing this for a while, and I hadn't gotten the courage to do it yet, but I actually signed up for the Miss Massachusetts USA beauty pageant. And so I competed in that in 2022. But through the process of preparing for that, I just, decided if I'm going to sign up for this, I really want to invest 100%. I don't want to sign up just to sign up. So I started working with a personal trainer named Elena, and she's still one of my closest friends to this day, and I still train with her. And it has been a couple of years now. So we started training together. We put together a nutrition plan. And so I started changing a lot of how I look at nutrition. I changed a lot of aspects of my diet. We started doing life coaching together because she also has a life coaching certification. And then in that same time frame, that was when I got the opportunity to start doing wrestling podcasting. And at that point in time, I was very much in the mindset of like, okay, well, I want to make some life changes. I want to make a point to invest in myself a little bit and just invest in my own self-care a little bit. So why not try it? Why not put myself out there and try new things? And it was challenging because I had a lot of anxiety. Um, I've I've been someone that has struggled with anxiety in the past, and so to make that initial step to put myself out there and trying new things was really hard because unfamiliar equals scary. And I think oftentimes in my brain, I would jump to like worst case scenarios of like, oh, well, what could go wrong if I sign up for this? Or what could go wrong if I do this podcast? Like, will I, say the wrong thing, and offend somebody, something like that. My brain would just spiral. I would spiral into worst case scenarios. And because of that, I would be afraid to try new things. And I kind of had to push myself to make a conscious decision at that point in time to say, I'm just going to sign up. And once I'm signed up, I'm committed. And so that was kind of how everything got started. And so, along with my wrestling journey, I was on this pageant journey. And through doing that, I was kind of on like a fitness nutrition journey, which has also, I think, tied in very well to wrestling. Um, and so, and I think ultimately it all benefited, despite the pageant world and the wrestling world being kind of like two separate things. I think it all benefited me in terms of building my confidence and giving me the tools that I need to be successful within wrestling. And I've met so many incredible people and new friends along the way, and people that are like minded in terms of being very growth oriented. And so I went through a lot personally to, I think, push myself to a point where I felt maybe it was time to, despite the struggles that come with mental health and dealing with things like chronic anxiety and things of that nature, it really pushed me. Like I had to
Hmm.
fight for weeks to say like I'm gonna get out of bed and I'm just gonna do one small thing today to make my life a little bit better. And it got a little bit easier as the days went on. And I was really lucky to have great family support during that time. I remember there was like one day I was really struggling and I had spent a lot of time in bed. And I remember one of my brothers just decided like we're gonna go on like a little day trip to like one of the college towns that's like close by to where we live. And so we went on, I got myself, it was like probably the first time I'd like gotten myself out of bed and like dressed and ready and made up in so long. And we just went on a little day trip. And there was another day, my other brother was like, we're going to go out to dinner together. And he took me to a diner that I really liked. And again, it was like one of the times where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get out of bed and I'm going to put myself together. And so I'm really grateful for the friendship and support that I have from them because they helped me a lot during that time as well. But I really had to like push myself, both utilizing professional resources as well, professional mental health resources, while also just trying to fight and use the familial and friend network support that I had to just make little changes to kind of dig myself out of this very dark place that I was in.
Yeah.